I am here to answer 6 questions for Michael, or Poetry on Plastic. He has just crossed a wonderful threshold of 5,000 subs, and he's holding a contest. You don't even have to put me in it. I'm just happy to promote your channel, hopefully give you a small boost. But yeah, you're pretty far up there, which is actually pretty good. For those of you that are not familiar with Michael, Michael's channel is very, very interesting, and he does things which nobody else does. So he features classical records on a regular basis, and that is really something that no other VC member does, at least as far as I'm aware. And he also covers some genres which, I did not know about for the longest time. So I didn't know about Screamo, for example, and that's a genre that he covers. He's also very big into Japanese artists. So, if you're looking for something different, definitely take a look at Michael's channel. Anyway, he's asked us 6 questions, and I'm going to do my best to respond to these. His first question was, show a band which you happen to catch live as your first ever concert. And to answer this one is difficult for me because I am from the state of Wyoming, and Wyoming is not a state that has a huge concert draw. I mean, it is the least populated state in all of the United States, including Alaska. So there isn't a drive for a lot of bands to go check out Wyoming. Now, if you're into country music, there is Cheyenne Frontier Days, which is a major draw for country acts. But for all other genres, you really have to travel to Denver, Colorado to catch some of those concerts. So I did not see what I consider my first full-fledged concert until I was in college. And the band that I happened to catch the very first time was on September 30th, 1995, and that was Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, which was the second leg of their No Quarter tour. A lot of you are going to be familiar with this record. This is basically an MTV Unplugged, although it was not really dubbed as that, and they do have some electric. But a lot of the pieces were rearranged. They brought in orchestra to play with them. And for me, I caught them in this place called Fiddler's Green. And for me, it was just a mesmerizing experience. And I was fortunate enough to catch them again in 1998. And I do have a bootleg of that concert. I think every single show from that entire tour was recorded in one form or another, but here is just a small snippet of what I happened to hear.
We're in Colorado. Buenas noches. Question from Mexico City. Chances on a big jet plane. Never let them tell you that we're all the same. The day's just fine. The night's
Next up, Michael asked us, show us some music that you were listening to most when you were 17 years of age. And to be quite honest, I don't remember some of the specifics, but one of the ones that I do know that I was listening quite a bit was Massive Attack, their debut. And this is just such a fantastic album. This is what first exposed me to the genre of trip hop. I like Robert Del Naja, and I played this album quite a bit, and just like all of their records have gotten frequently spun by me And I will always be a massive Attack fan. In fact, here's another band that I happened to catch on tour twice, but I didn't catch them until a couple albums in, but they also put on a fantastic show.
Though you may not drive a great big car,
To see me looking back at you.
but if you had what's mine, I sure as hell retaliate.
The third question was, show us an album that broke you into a particular genre. And so when I was in university, I was working at a record store. I was also heavily into classic rock and blues rock. And, you know, I was very curious to learn more about, you know, the roots of blues rock. And one song in particular, ZZ Top's Grange, I was always curious who was singing that. And so I happened to pick up a CD of John Lee Hooker. So John Lee Hooker was probably my first full-fledged blues artist that I ever picked up. And I did pick up a comp. This one's on VJ, and this one I totally lucked out on because it was a sealed original. It had never been played, and I was just amazed by it. Now, John Lee Hooker was very prolific, and you know, he put out like 1 or 2 albums like every year, but the VJ output is some of his best. And you know, if you can, I would try and pick up a VJ record if you can.
I like the way you switch. I like the way you switch. I like somebody else. I can't get my thrill now, baby. Nothing I be with you. I'm in the mood.
Next question was, show us an album which was recorded or mixed or mastered and it just sounds terrible, but you love it anyway. For me, I have to go with Caius. Caius was making music in the 90s, and you know, in terms of vinyl, everything was being pressed to one single record. And you know, when the CD came about, it basically allowed artists to go over about 40 minutes in length for their albums. And you know, if you went over 40 minutes, you went to 50, it was almost a double album. So a lot of the record companies, you know, vinyl was kind of by the wayside, kind of pushed to kind of a niche market. And so all the vinyl releases from the 90s, for the most part, do not sound that great. And Caius is a perfect example of that. And even the CDs didn't sound that great for this band. I don't know why, but I love the desert rock scene that was coming out of California, and I love Caius. I do not recommend this on vinyl by any means, and it's really highly sought out, but I am happy to have it. But in terms of sonics, it's not the greatest. Michael's next question was, show an album which you use to show off your system. And in the 90s, I was a DJ, and when you're DJing, you really have to pay attention to the music that your audience is into. And the same is true when I'm trying to demonstrate the capabilities of vinyl to someone. And you know, ultimately I'd want to show a classical or a jazz record, but you know, most people are not into classical music or jazz, so I really have to go with a rock record. And I want to go for something that is familiar, so something that, you know, somebody knows that music because that will really highlight what a good system can do. And for me, I have to go with Heart's Dreamboat Annie, the Friday Music Edition. This was mastered by Kevin Gray, and you play Magic Man, for example. There's this wonderful guitar solo. There's a synth solo as well, and it is just immersive in terms of its quality. And it doesn't get any better. So this is probably an album that I would put on to show off my system for someone that was into rock music. Michael's last question related to my system was, what kind of upgrade are you looking to do to your system in the future? And you know, I should be content with what I have right now. I have a good mid-fi system. But you know, you're always curious what other things can do. I just happen to get a new tone arm for my Riga, which I'm going to be installing here in the future. But you know, in terms of upgrades, there are probably two that I would go for next. I really want to go with a high mass turntable. I really want to see what a high mass turntable can do. But I think first and foremost, I want to get some new speakers. Now, my speakers are golden ear Tritons, and you know, they're advertised in all the audiophile magazines, and they're great for what they do because they can go as low as 16 hertz and they can go all the way up to 35,000 kilohertz, I think it is. And you know, that's far beyond what a human ear can pick up. I like it because of the dynamic range. You have all kinds of headroom to work with. But, you know, there are elements, as I dissect equipment, I can see where they've gone cheap, where you can do things better. I would like to try a different pair of speakers. Now, am I satisfied with my golden ear Tritons? Yes, absolutely. But I think, you know, every speaker has different capabilities. So I'm just curious to try something else out. So I hope that answers your question. For those haven't seen Michael before, I'm including a link down below. Please check him out if you get a chance. Michael, again, congrats on the 5,000 subscribers. Definitely well earned. And for all my viewers, I'll catch you in the next video.